marriage, the most sacred of relationships, yet time and life make it fragile. Love, trust, respect, and desire, all elements of a successful marriage. Yet so many of us along the way forget. We lead busy lives. We go through changes, big and small. We build walls to protect ourselves. It does not have to be this way. There are clear and exciting ways to bring your marriage and life back on track. Welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast with Stuart Fensterheim.
Hi there, and welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast. This is Stuart Fensterheim, the Couples Expert, and welcome to another episode of this incredible journey that I'm under, helping couples really understand what's important in your life, and that's really one another. You know, they say that age equals wisdom. That's not always the case. But what I'm finding now that I've turned 62 is that experience, heartache, pain, anguish, and understanding that our life can be the most wonderful, exciting experience when you take notice. You know, I can really be impulsive sometimes, and I hurry up and I have all of these things that I have to do in my office and at house and projects. But when I slow down, when I really begin to look at what matters to me and the people in my life that matter to me, I find myself in awe that life really is a blessing. And the blessing are the people in your life, not how much money you make, not how many goals that I score, not how many marathons can I run, but just looking my wife in the eye and seeing her, seeing all of her, looking my brothers in the eye, looking my sister in the eye, thanking my lucky stars that my parents are still alive and are in their 80s, makes me recognize the blessing is the people. And the sad part is so many of us don't tell people how wonderful they are and how meaningful they are. This happened to me today. I'm sitting at home on a Sunday, and typically I go with my wife to be with my elderly in-laws who are in their 80s. And my wife, who is such a wonderful woman, goes there almost every week to really bring them what we jokingly call Meals on Wheels. We have dinner with them, and we bring them food to make their life easier. She shops every week for our family and always brings something to them to make their life better. That is such a blessing. And I feel so fortunate that she's in my life. And as I'm sitting here today by myself recording this podcast, and I also did some videos for my Stuart's Daily Notes, sitting here by myself, looking at my home. It's a really beautiful house. And what I find that within me is this spirit that it's about love, and that love really conquers everything. My father used to tell me that. My mom tells me that. The people in my life tell me that. And currently my sister is going through some difficult times. And out of the blue, something popped up. And today, I feel the love of my wife, the love of my family. My family is pulling together to help my sister in so many different ways. We help one another. I had a phone call this morning with my brother who lives in Washington, D.C., and we were jokingly and talking about Nespresso, the coffee. And he has a the capsules that you get from Nespresso, and we were talking about that. And he was sharing his techniques for getting them cheaper. And it's so exciting, but it's so simple. It's a little thing. But he lives across the country. And I found a good opportunity to connect with him. If you've been on my Facebook page, you know that my brothers and I went to New Orleans recently. And we went there to celebrate the three of us in our 60s, connecting like we used to connect when we were kids. There's a passion in that. And that's really the title of this podcast, this episode, is how do you keep passion alive in your marriage? Now, passion can be looked at sexually, but it can also be looked at as a fulfillment of expressing all the things that matter to you in your life with your partners. And that's really what today's episode is going to be about. It's about how do you keep that alive? How do we allow ourselves to bring into our marriage all the love we have, the love of each other, the love of activities, the love of sensuality and sexuality, and never letting one day go by without you expressing your true self, your authentic self, in a way that excites you. And what I know, and what I believe very, very strongly, is if you're excited about your life, your partnership will be wonderful. Because those of us that are true to our own passions, to our own excitements, to our own authenticity, makes our world a happy place. When we put that aside, or when we feel like what we have to do is settle for things that we don't really love, it's sad and empty. And your marriage and your partnership with your partner or spouse should always be one in which you wake up every morning excited for the world, excited for your next day, because you're living an authentic life with a partner that cares about you, and the two of you are in this world together. And you're in this world to have a forum, to have an opportunity to have the two of you create for each other a special place, a home, a place where you can bring and come home every day, knowing that you're coming to your happy place, to the place where you could just be, just exist. Doesn't mean that there might not be some stress and trials and tribulations and things that you two have to work through, but that here is a place that you can just be yourself and live out your loves and your passions, loves of each other, and passions for the things in your life that you hold dear. Now, these passions, because we have to define what passion really means. And I think what we have to think about is sharing your passions with your partner is how do you make your life interesting and exciting? Is I was sitting with a couple this week, and the gentleman, what I do with couples is when I see them for an initial assessment, and we do the whole history and why are you here and all of those things. And then I sit down with them individually to talk about their past and family background and childhood history. And I was sitting down with this gentleman, and what he began to share is some of the struggles that the two of them have is that skiing is his happy place. And sometimes this happens to me when people begin to talk about things. I have memory as I'm sitting there of the pleasures that my wife and I have with the passions that we share. And there's really so many of them. One of them is my dog, Ollie, and I've talked a lot about Ollie in past episodes. He's a therapy dog that I have that my wife and I foster, and we work with an organization called Desert Lab Rescue. Desert Lab Rescue is an organization in Phoenix that goes to different shelters looking for labs to rescue. And my wife and I, upon losing our last dog, wasn't sure if the dog that we still had living would handle the loss of Lulu. And so we wanted to not adopt right away. And what we decided to do is get involved with this organization. And the two of us have just fallen in love, both with the organization and also with fostering. We weren't sure at first whether we could do that, but there is nothing that brings the two of us closer than when we're either fostering an animal or talking about dogs. We both are just so passionate about it, and it makes us feel so close. But one of the things to think about is sometimes passions in a relationship may be different for one or the other. And my wife and I do the fostering, and the other passion that we have is hiking. But the funny part is, as I'm sitting there hearing this man talk about skiing, I'm recalling my wife being as passionate as she is about her eBay business, and that I have gotten involved with helping her, mailing packages, making sure that her feedback isn't where it's supposed to be, all around Coach purses. And some of the women out there may say, wow, Coach purchase and a guy that likes it. Here's the truth. I don't. But I love what it does to her. And I love that our participation together brings the biggest smile to her face and the biggest smile to mine. Because when we're doing something together that we're passionate about, the excitement in someone's eyes is so filled with that passion and the love, especially if you're someone in their life that is supporting that. And she does that for me as well in the running that I do. So the message here is a passion that either one of you have will bring joy to both of you. So I'm sitting there with this man talking about skiing, and he shares some things about the differences in their skiing. Is if one wants to ski slow and gently and appreciate the smell of the slope, the nice runs, and one wants to go down like a bat out of hell because it's about a competition to go faster than anyone, and there's no compromise for two people, it becomes a trigger. It becomes an experience where neither one of you are satisfied. And if you don't have a conversation about what matters in this world and slowing down and finding an avenue for connecting on the slopes, it becomes an empty, lonely place, which could be in a wonderful place. So what this podcast really is going to be about today is how do you take that feeling and keep it in your marriage every single day? The way you do that is you recognize there's many different kinds of passions. There are intellectual passions, passions about books, passions about learning, passions about politics. The issue with Donald Trump's presidency that I always think about is there has been more passion in our country since his election than any other time. And I was just watching 60 Minutes, and they had Oprah on it. And she had this focus group that she was talking to. I don't know how many of you may have seen it. You saw the passion in their face, and you also saw at the very end what Oprah shared was that these people kept in contact talking to one another. They wanted some way to connect, even with different opposite opinions. And if you allow the politics or family or anything to tear you apart, shame on you. Passion is only positive if you only choose positive passions. If you're one that your passion is about hate and anger and other types of things, shame on you. Grow up. Do something to recognize some of the unhealthy things you're doing, because passion should be positive focus. So we have intellectual pursuits, things like books and reading and politics and the environment and all the things that are going on, global warming, climate change. These are all passions and intellectual things that people in their home could be talking about. I have so many people telling me life is boring. They don't have anything to discuss with one another. Well, find something. Create a passion together. Go through meetups. Go to different lectures. Go to different things that will allow the two of you to share these experiences, to give you things to talk about, to give you experiences to have. Traveling. Travel is a behavior, but for a lot of people, it's also intellectual. When my wife and I go on a cruise, we have all these different passions that happen. And that's really what happens. If you want a passionate love life, have a passionate home life. Have activities that you two do together that bring you intellectually, that stimulates you. So that when you get together after your activities, you're excited, you're fulfilled, you're able to do those things. And it turns into other things. Don't sit at home and watch TV. If you want to have a passionate marriage, a stimulating marriage, a sensual marriage, a marriage that has the two of you really feeling excited about life, plan activities. Don't sit around and do the same thing over and over and over and over again. Don't come home after work, sit on the couch, watch TV, and go to bed and do the same thing every single day. Now, sometimes you have to do it that way if you have kids and other things going on, but within the same framework, you can share different things. You could talk about your day. You can have an activity that the two of you do on a regular basis that you can plan for. You can talk about your weekend. I think it's a wonderful thing to have a calendar at home where you have on your calendar activities that you two are going to do with kids, without kids, so that you fill up your calendar. And sometimes the activity is stay at home and do nothing. Have a glass of wine. If you live in the Arizona area, most people have pools. Go skinny dipping. Go sit in the pool at the end of the day to just appreciating each other and just talk with your partner if that's the experience that you have. And you need to do some things to get reacquainted with one another physically. And what you have to first figure out is how did it get lower on the list of importance? Do the things necessary to help the two of you really have a relationship that in the bedroom is also as exciting as what we've been talking about outside the bedroom. So what that might mean is go find a sex book and go through the book. There are lots of books out there that are about 52 weeks out of the year, 365 days of sex. You don't have to do all of it, but do some of it. Courting each other is also about doing the things sexually that you would do if you just started out. When's the last time the two of you went somewhere and your wife turned over to you and said, "Guess what? I'm not wearing panties." And the guy turned to her and said, "Guess what? I'm not wearing underwear either." How fun would that be? How about sending each other sexy texts? When have you done that last? Or going on Skype and having a webcam sexual experience with your partner. I'm not asking you to do something you're not comfortable with. What I'm asking you to do is imagine yourself in a relationship with someone that you're very attracted to, and you want to have stimulating interactions on all levels, physically, emotionally, verbally. Do you talk about sex? Do you turn to one another and say, "I can't wait to get home because I am going to drive you crazy"? How much of that are you doing now? If you're not, start. We need to take a look at what each of our responsibilities are to making sure that passion in the bedroom is a regular occurrence. And if it's not happening and you've made some efforts and it's still not working, you need to have a diagnostic assessment of why. Not turning to your partner and say, "Why are you not doing this?" But asking yourself, "Why am I not doing this? What is getting in the way? Am I bored? Am I just too tired?" Whatever it is, you need to work on this. You need to take a look at your lifestyle. I was meeting with a couple the other day, and one of the issues was the gentleman works round the clock. When he gets home, he'll sit down and pass out. Of course he is. He's exhausted. Why do we make our work life more important than our home life? It's a really sad state. And if your lifestyle and work, and we have to understand, why do we work? Do we work because we love what we do? I hope you love what you do. But I hope more importantly, you work so there's a fun and exciting lifestyle for you and your partner and your children and your family. If your work life is interfering with the closeness and physical relationship that you and your partner have, you may have to think about a different job. You may have to even change careers. And some people would say, "That would be outrageous. Why would I do that?" You do that because nothing can matter more than you and your partner. You should be happy in your work endeavors, but don't let it take over your life. When we talk work-life balance, what's more important than the relationship with our partners? The other piece that we have to do, and I implied this earlier, is you have to look at your role in this. What aren't you doing? So many people come into my office and talk about being upset with their partners because their partners don't initiate sex. Why is that such a big deal? I think the real reason underneath that is, am I attractive to you? Am I someone that you desire? Because there's a belief that if you desire me, you would want to have sex with me, and therefore you would start the process. But culturally and gender-wise, sometimes it's really uncomfortable for some people to do that. But have the conversation. You need to talk to your partner about this. So many people say they make all these assumptions. Talk to one another. You both are in this adult relationship. That means passion in and out of the bedroom is something you both want and chose. Give yourself permission to ask for what you want. Don't be afraid. And so often we're afraid of getting our feelings hurt. But my belief is it's better to know what's happening than not to know. The biggest key here, stop complaining about it. Take the bull by the horns, take the responsibility, and if you have permission to be intimate with your partner, start doing it today. If it's a lot of relationship injuries that has gotten in the way of the two of you being able to be passionate, we have to deal with those. Seek a counselor if necessary. But your physical relationship is a critical component. No one I know, and all the research out there says this, no one describes their relationship as satisfying if they don't equally have a playful, sexual, intimate, and passionate relationship. It is an essential ingredient for people feeling good about their relationship. Get creative. Use sex toys. Use the webcam. Look up things that you can do. Role play if that is something that you enjoy. If you enjoy light bondage, go get some ties. Do the things that the two of you are comfortable with so it's not just the same old every single time. And be patient with one another. Love each other. Care about each other. Let each other know every single day. There's no one you'd rather be with. There's no one you'd rather work on your relationship with. And there's no one in your world that matters more to you than they do. If you do these things, you will have an incredibly passionate, exciting relationship in and out of the bedroom. Take care. We'll see you next week, and stay connected.
Thank you for listening. This episode has ended, but your journey continues. Head over to www.thecouplesexperts.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in this episode, as well as bonus content exclusive to podcast listeners. Enjoyed this episode? Why not hit subscribe now and never miss an episode?